by your side.
I believe there's a lot to learn from the horrors you experienced.
Allison, is anyone home?
I read everything about you.
You have a moment. We've traveled a very long way.
The mentally ill face ongoing challenges, living each moment as if it were their last. Two podcasters aim to interview the infamous patient at Smith Grove before his transfer to a stricter facility. They are accompanied by Dr. Sartain, who has made no progress despite studying Michael Myers for years. Michael has never spoken a word. During a break, the patients are chained outside for some fresh air. Aaron believes he can reach Michael, especially with a special item he's brought. The artifact stirs excitement among the inmates, and Aaron encourages them, hoping for a reaction. Next, the podcasters move to Haddonfield, trying to gather footage after a failed attempt to provoke a response. They want to interview Laurie Strode, now a reclusive survivalist, and offer her a bag for a conversation. Reluctantly, she agrees to talk. Dana attempts to establish their credibility, but her focus on the importance of Laurie's story annoys her. When Aaron bluntly states their goal is to arrange a dramatic meeting between Laurie and Michael, he crosses a line. In response to the situation, Laurie shows the podcasters out. We then meet her daughter Karen and granddaughter Allison. Karen has rearranged her schedule to attend Allison's National Honor Society event, and both she and her husband Ray are eager to meet Allison's boyfriend Cameron. Allison then quizzes her mom about whether she invited Grandma, as promised. Karen lies and says she did, believing it's necessary to protect her daughter from her unreliable mother. However, Allison reveals to her friends on the way to school that she actually invited her grandmother herself. This time of year is particularly difficult for the family, as they are still haunted by past events that have become mere folklore for others. Dave questions whether the past incident was really that serious, noting it involved just one person with a knife and resulted in a low to moderate number of victims. Meanwhile, we see Allison kissing Cameron in the hallway, and friend Oscar joins in with playful kisses. As the day goes on, Laurie seeks to connect with Allison in her own way. She plans to give her the money from the podcast and encourages her to embrace life, as Laurie believes she's been living like a hermit, obsessed with a disaster that never came. Laurie is eager for confrontation and would face any backlash if it means raising a strong daughter. She retreats to her safe space, surrounded by her weapons, which she treats with great care. Later that evening, the podcasters sift through their research, hoping to find an interesting angle by listening to old tapes from Dr. Loomis. At the Funny Farm, a group of patients, including Dr. Sartain, is being transferred. As the person responsible for the most dangerous patient, he wants to supervise the process. Outside, Laurie Strode watches over them. Meanwhile, at Chili's, the group is enjoying appetizers and getting to know Cameron better. They celebrate with high fives over jalapeno poppers and drinks. Laurie drops by to check on them and vent before joining them for dinner. She shares her regret about hesitating to kill Michael when she had the chance. Allison realizes that Karen's reluctance to involve Grandma over the years wasn't entirely unfounded. She rushes off to comfort her mother, but Karen's flashbacks reveal the strange upbringing she had, spent preparing for disaster. After being taken away by CPS, Karen resented Laurie's protective measures and aimed to shield Allison from life's harsh realities. It seems everyone has their own ideas about the best way to parent. On a county road, a father and son debate the benefits of hunting and fishing versus dancing. Before they conclude, they encounter a bus full of disturbed individuals. When the father goes to investigate, Lumpy calls 911. Unfortunately, they need more details, so he reluctantly approaches the scene with his rifle ready. He encounters a nearly dead man, who warns him to run. But Lumpy continues on. He soon comes across Dr. Sartain, who tries to startle him into not shooting, but this has the opposite effect. The night is filled with new experiences for the young man, but because he didn't leave the keys behind, he won't be able to share these stories later. Officer Hawkins receives the call and heads to the scene. By the time he arrives, most of the chaos has settled, but he proceeds cautiously due to the dead bodies. He finds a doctor who is critically injured and mainly concerned about whether he managed to escape. The next day, Aaron and Dana visit Judith Meyer's grave, dramatically narrating their thoughts, seemingly for the groundskeeper's benefit. At Haddonfield Memorial, Sheriff Barker reports that most patients are accounted for, but none can explain what happened. The only useful detail is that Hawkins identifies Michael Myers on the bus manifest. Meanwhile, while the podcast journalists grab a bite, a familiar figure lurks in the background, committing acts of violence. Dana steps away to the restroom, where she hears heavy footsteps and stall checks, revealing a man who disregards privacy. At the shop, Aaron encounters the violence firsthand, realizing the danger he's in. Back in the restroom, Michael tries to enter, brandishing a handful of bloody items. Dana quickly tries to escape. Then she hides in another stall as Aaron rushes in to confront Michael. Though Michael has a crowbar, he lacks the intent to commit violence. The result is gruesome in the bathroom, with one man's face left a mess. When he returns to Dana, she fails to escape and ends up dying. Michael then goes to the trunk of his car and reunites with his mask, the true symbol of his identity. News of the chaos reaches Laurie, who quickly initiates lockdown and heads to her panic room to start her preparations. This involves breaking into Karen's house to check if she remembers her survival lessons, but she hasn't and is criticized for being unprepared. Despite Laurie's warnings about the impending danger, they focus on preparing dinner. At the police station, the officers are finally piecing together the destruction left behind, realizing the seriousness of the situation. As Halloween arrives in Haddonfield, Michael makes a brief appearance before slipping away to seek out candy. He enters the first house, and after finding no sweets, he swaps his hammer for a knife. As he leaves, Michael wonders about the thoughts of babies before heading to a busy area. His plan is straightforward: to blend into the shadows, find potential victims, and turn them into actual victims. At the dance, a couple dressed as Bonnie and Clyde reveals their costume challenges traditional gender norms, an unimpressive act of rebellion for today's high schoolers. They join the party where kids are dancing freely. Allison receives a call from Vicky, who is babysitting, and invites her to come over after the party to smoke. Julian, aware of what's really happening, gets an early bedtime for his insight. Back at the gym, Allison finds Cameron can't resist the attention of other girls. He tries to convince her he's a nice guy, but shifts the blame for his behavior onto her phone use in a dramatic way. Meanwhile, Laurie drives around listening to a police scanner. Coincidentally, Michael arrives at Julian's house, where Vicky is busy cleaning a large knife. Dave shows up and proudly displays his commemorative tattoo, leading to some playful antics on the couch. However, Vicky is distracted by a noise. Before Dave can investigate, Julian jumps out to warn them about the bogeyman, a childish tale. Vicky decides to check it out, but after finding nothing, she puts Julian back to bed. Julian's final request is to close the closet door, which won't shut. To everyone's shock, a man is inside. He drags Vicky into the room to stab her, while Dave gathers the courage to intervene, only picking up the knife after the screaming stops. A call goes out for a domestic disturbance, prompting immediate action. Officer Hawkins arrives first and notices the back door is open. He enters, calls out, but gets no response. Heading upstairs, he finds a suspicious figure under a sheet, hoping to uncover it without getting hurt. He pulls it back to reveal Vicky. Laurie arrives and takes a more aggressive approach, clearing the streets and spotting Michael 2 windows away from Hawkins. She fires but misses. Michael then strolls out, with Hawkins in pursuit, who is momentarily delayed by discovering Dave pinned to the wall. Laurie catches up to Hawkins and manages to graze Michael's neck, but it doesn't affect him. Suddenly startled by him, Sheriff Baker arrives with Dr. Sartain, who is now alert and eager to share information. The officers debate whether Sartain is a help or a hindrance, but he warns them that Michael will kill again, which is crucial intel. Laurie suggests taking action, getting the doctor on his feet, as she represents a challenge he would love to tackle. While the town is on lockdown, we shift to Oscar, who is escorting Allison, the most popular and kind girl in school, implying she deserves better than Cameron. Cameron. After dropping that hint, he invites her to take a shortcut with him. Meanwhile, Hawkins and Sartain patrol the streets, with Sartain revealing his fascination with exploring Michael's mind, hinting at his unusual interests. They stop at Allison's house to deliver a sobering reality check. Their plan is to barricade themselves at Laurie Strode's house. Back with the kids, Oscar's shortcut involves crossing 1 yard, and when he says Allison deserves better, he means he wants to kiss her. However, after being rejected, he crumples to the ground, lamenting his woes to the empty darkness, mistakenly thinking someone is listening. Allison, not falling for Oscar's antics, watches in horror as he dies screaming, stabbed in the back and impaled on a picket fence. However, she quickly finds someone who can help her. Hawkins arrives, and Sartain jumps out, eager to witness everything related to Michael Myers. As they head to the Strode house, Hawkins spots Michael and considers risking everything to stop the terror. Unfortunately, Dr. Sartain, taking his role seriously, intervenes to prevent Hawkins from making the kill shot. In a surprising turn of events, Dr. Sartain takes things further by using his penknife to kill Hawkins. Strangely, he feels a deeper connection with Michael, believing they might actually make progress together. He then secures Hawkins and Allison, sharing his theory that Michael's obsession with hunting Laurie is what keeps him alive. Sartain expresses a strong desire to hear Michael whisper something in his ear. Seizing the moment, Allison claims that Michael spoke to her and insists she'll share what he said if Sartain lets her go. Driven by curiosity, he pulls over and presses her to reveal what she heard. However, just as things are about to unfold, Michael wakes up and interrupts the situation. He drags Sartain out of the vehicle, and despite Sartain begging for a single word from Michael, he takes action instead. Allison seizes the chance to escape, which catches the attention of the nearby officers on patrol. They approach the scene cautiously but find nothing amiss. Meanwhile, Ray, distracted from his yo-yoing by the sight of a police cruiser parked outside, decides to check on the situation. However, he discovers that the officers appear unwell, though this assessment is subjective. Ultimately, Ray's encounter takes a dark turn as he is pulled into the shadows, firing his gun aimlessly into the darkness. Meanwhile, Laurie calls out, heightening the tension as the confrontation between hunter and prey draws near. Then Laurie stood next to a window, a moment that could have marked her end after 4 decades of preparation. However, her resilience shines through as she quickly heads to the panic room to turn on the lights just as Michael begins to enter. Determined to confront him, Laurie starts moving through the house, methodically clearing each room and securing them. Following a blood trail, she eventually ascends the stairs and enters a room filled with mannequins, creating uncertainty about what lies ahead. Just as she anticipates her next move, Michael suddenly appears and attacks, wounding her severely before throwing her over the balcony. For a brief moment, he's distracted by Allison's arrival, giving Laurie a chance to escape. Meanwhile, Karen quickly emerges to urge Allison downstairs, and they wait anxiously, holding their breath as Michael tries to figure out their whereabouts. When Michael finally gets his hands on Karen, she reaches for her old weapon but falters in her resolve, calling out for her mother to save her. At that moment, Laurie emerges and strikes Michael, sending him tumbling into the basement. As the women make their escape, Michael grabs Karen's ankle, allowing Allison to inflict a wound, a significant moment for her. We discover that what appeared to be Laurie's prison was actually a carefully laid trap for Michael. Once he is subdued, Laurie floors the gas and ignites the pilot lights, throwing Michael a farewell road flare. As the house erupts in flames, Michael appears unfazed by the chaos. The 3 survivors flee to the road where they encounter a simple chicken farmer who offers them help, and they disappear into the night. Did this story spook you out? Let us know in the comments below. For more horror movie recaps, subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next one. Fear awaits you.